All right, guys. You ready for our holy clap? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Holy cow. All right. All right, ready? Who's reading highlights? So take it away. 484.
The three. Definition of
Ohaliab.
Moses the golden calf, God's anger, Moses is the prayer, and Moses passion. And second tablet, God reveals his promise of the covenant, the radiance of big one.
Holy cow.
Holy cow.
Right, exactly. So I would like to start at the beginning over here by looking at the second verse. Somebody please read the second verse. Yep. There you go. Back to page 484. It starts with the words, actual words of the Parsha, Tisa. The Parsha begins that Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, and these are the first words that Hashem spoke to Moshe. And what was he saying? Someone read it. Verse 12. Not be. Very important. Okay. Questions? What? Okay, why would there be a plague? What else? What's an atonement for what's an atonement for his soul? Good.
Why did they take a census?
Good. Why did they take a census? What else? Yes. Shoes.
They don't count. They count shoes in a minute.
Right. Or chairs at a table. Or something like that. We don't count each other because we're much bigger than numbers. So we don't count each other. It's almost like an ayin hara to count a Jew. So you count right. So we actually use this. There's a certain verse that we use to count people, and we go, we say the verse, and then by the end of the verse, we know how many words are in that verse, and then that's how many people. So we don't count by number. So here, right? So is this part of this? So, okay, good. So you're right, Julie, because what they're essentially doing here is taking a census, counting the people, but they're not counting by number. They're counting by how? What's the way that the Jewish people are being counted here? By their shekel, by their machatzitza shekel, that this like half shekel coin that they donate, that they contribute. So they count the money, but not the people. So what is this teaching us? I think this is like one of the most important lessons. This is like one of the most important lessons in the Torah right here. That's interesting. Even more or different than that is that when a Jew is counted, we're counted by what we give, not what we have. That's the way the Jew is counted here. You donate, and that's how you're counted. You're counted by your contribution. And every Jew gives the same amount of money. That's what Kathy was saying, to signify that no one is more important. You you all have equality, you're all equal, you're all valuable, you're all essential. But the way that you're counted is by something that you contribute. So the way that we count people most often societally is by what they accomplish, by what they do, by what they've, maybe by how much they have, right? Bill Gates is like the wealthiest, whatever, like this person went to this school and has this many degrees. This person has this much money. This person has like the most spectacular body. Like there are so many ways that we count people, we make people count, and the Torah is saying, nope, not about any of that. It's by what you give.
So that why.
Correct. 100, right. So is that why that we have guidelines around that? Yeah, definitely. I mean, that Hashem is basically, telling us you give according to your means, but at 10% is a non-negotiable. Mhm. And here I will share with you because you just brought that up if I could find it. I don't know if
But.
okay. I'm not sure I could find it. I'll save it. So, but that's one of the most essential lessons right off the bat here is that when, as a Jew, it does not matter what someone accomplishes, how they look, how smart they are, anything else. What?
They're still counting them.
We're counted by what we give and what we contribute. And that's an incredible lesson. It's an incredible lesson for us to take away is that when we look around, we see people that we create judgment about, that we judge, or we either for the positive or for the negative. This person is super accomplished, but this person But in reality, Hashem is saying here, no, doesn't matter. That's not the way we count people. That's not the way we assess people. People are valuable because of who they are, and they're counted in this census because of what we contribute. And everybody contributes. Julie, were you gonna make a comment? Yeah. Okay.
Because you could be like I mean,
Is that our word?
where's the word?
Yeah.
It could be like people could say, oh, it's really different. Compared to other people.
But here, this is
Like
this.
that JUF book.
Right.
Everybody looks to see who did what.
Good. Okay, that's interesting. But here Hashem is saying in this instance, we all judge. In this instance, everyone gave exactly the same amounts of money,
No matter what.
no matter what. And as a Jew, it's not about a contribution of money either. That's the lesson is deeper, meaning we assess people and judge people based on the way they look, based on their appearance, based on their accomplishments. And Hashem is reminding us people are inherently worthy and their contributions matter. It's not what we have. That's not the way to look at people and judge them favorably or with, look positively up towards people. We look a lot more favorably to the people that have a lot of money, more than the people that work in the soup kitchen. And Hashem is saying, what's really where's really the, just pay attention to what the intrinsic value is here. Yeah.
I've always been books and put the names under the amounts, given that's so antithetical.
Yes.
I mean, anonymity is the highest score. So how listing exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you walk into Jewish
organizations
organizations do it like crazy and put the names on the outside of the buildings and, I mean, we have them on every building in our community has a name. Every single building has a name. And it's usually in memorial. What I think is beautiful is it's in memorial of somebody who's no longer there, which is very beautiful because in that way it's like it's like a living testimony. Whatever happens in that building is like a living testimony to them, and they sort of like get the credit for all that good stuff that happens there. Yeah.
No, I agree with that, but.
Yeah.
But
you
but
should.
but those books,
Right, so people so, well, you see that this person paid
Yeah.
that much, maybe I should give this.
Some
much.
of- Yeah.
Yeah, right,
and put it in.
Yeah.
Right. See, it is a motivator, but maybe it shouldn't be. Yeah. No, I don't know that it's supposed to be. And you know what? And I don't think the organizations are wrong for using it as a,
They need it.
but maybe for us to come from the vantage point of, whatever anyone else gives does not have any weight or bearing on what I need to give. It's not easy, but Hashem tells us what we need to give. 10%. That's it. We give our 10% and we, and then we're good. We can check that off the box. There are people who give more and who are allowed to give more up to, yeah. Yep. Up to a fifth. I think they have 20%. That is a good question. I don't know. I don't remember because my husband handles that tzedakah, but I think it is 10% post your walk away income. So that would be post taxes. I think I can check. I'll call. Yeah, because the other part it's not yours anyway. Yeah, I'll ask Julie. I will ask. I'll put in a call to the rabbi on the way home. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it is very, very hard. It's fascinating. So hard. It is so hard. Right. It's really hard, but it's the one place in the Torah that Hashem makes a promise to us, that he makes a promise. Ma'aser asher ta'aser, that if we tithe, we will not lose out financially. It's I mean, he made that promise in the Torah. There's no other promise like that.
So you recharge your fixed income, that now costs you $5 for a gallon. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's saving up. We're all living longer, so it's a struggle for everyone. Struggle for
It sure
everyone,
is.
Just different stuff,
Yeah.
different struggle.
Yeah. Well,
Or if they have the money, if they have the money.
I just have in my mind, and I feel this, and because it says it in the Torah, not because I feel it, but when we're tight, if we're tight, and then we haven't met it, and there's an opportunity to give it, I know so deep down, Hashem will get this back. This is not going to end up being my money anyway. This will end up going to a repair. This is going to end up going to, I'm not going to have this to spend. Like, that's what I keep telling myself. Hashem made a promise that ma'aser asher ta'aser, that we give, and then Hashem will provide that, will give us wealth from that. Like, we will not lose out financially. That's what I keep just living with that message, even when it's tight. Yeah, it's not easy. It is not easy to give. I mean, any step closer is tremendous. Tremendous. Wow.
You know what I mean? And,
Wow.
but it just feels good.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
Oh,
we're getting there.
Julie, that's amazing. That's so
Well, because I
special.
haven't get to them.
King your bill, right? It should continue, right? Oh my gosh. He should be blessed to have a job that he enjoys and brings in the money. Okay, show me the money. All right. No, I think that's great. Okay. So don't be quiet. Let's go forward. Now, I just thought that was a really important place to begin because that was the beginning of the portion. We are heading towards our holy cow section, but we are going to segue with page 491 where it talks about the Sabbath. And I'd like someone to read verses 12 and 13.
Teach the children of Israel. No, they're not even.
Now, why is this coming here? What is this following right after? What is this following right after? This is coming right after the conclusion of the construction of the Mishkan. Okay, the laver, the sink or the basin, anointment oil, incense, and then designation of Pitzal and Ohalihav. So this was right after all of the, kind of the conclusion of the Mishkan. And then we're told about Shabbos. So why is it coming right here?
Everything.
Okay, so but why here? Good, everything is complete, but it was already, we hear about it in the Ten Commandments. So why is Shabbos repeated here?
Hashem has told us everything he's given to us. And so, acknowledging those gifts. What are we giving back to him?
Okay. Okay, what else? Any other thoughts?
Together.
Okay, good, maybe, so now you've kind of earned your time to decompress. Interesting, so what Chazal say, and you'll see it actually in the commentary down below, is that although the commandment of the Shabbos was part of the 10 Commandments in 28, it's repeated here to caution the nation the construction of the sanctuary does not override the Shabbos. Israel must observe the Shabbos even whilst fashioning the resting place of Hashem's glory. This emphatically contradicts those who claim the laws of Shabbos must be pliable enough to be relaxed for valid spiritual considerations. Okay, so it's here to remind us that even creating this physical space for Hashem in this planet does not override, which is obviously a very spiritual endeavor. It does not override the creating this spiritual, this creating, this space in our house for Shabbos. It doesn't override the Shabbos. And that's why it's particularly put here. So I want to just spend a few minutes speaking about Shabbos because it is reiterated here. And just speaking about what Shabbos is. So Shabbos, according to the Talmud, is a matana tova, is a gift. It's referred to as a gift that Hashem literally opened up his treasure box and was looking to give the world a gift, was looking to give the Jewish people a gift. And he took out of his treasure box this gift of Shabbos and he handed it to the Jewish people and he said, "Here, my people." Now, imagine, we've all been here, okay? We've all been here. Imagine your husband gives you a gift. How do we respond? Right? Sometimes it's hard, but okay, sometimes we return it. Sometimes we return it, but when we return it, do we,
That is true.
when we return it, do they usually, do they know that we've returned it? Usually not. If I'm really smart and I did, at some point in our marriage, I have conveyed to my husband that when if he's gonna buy me something really nice, just to check in with me first. Right. So what do we say? Generally, when our spouse in either direction give us a gift, we send something that says, or we express, thank you so much. I even if I don't love the gift, I love that you thought enough to get me something that was, that was this special. You thought of me, it shows your care. We usually don't take it and like throw it back in anyone who gives us a gift. We don't throw it back in their face. Like, my daughter has grown a lot since this point, but when she was a bas mitzvah, when she became a bas mitzvah, my sister-in-law and her boyfriend gave her a Tiffany bracelet. And it was the little, the little one with beads, like the tiny small beads. I'm sure you've seen this bracelet. Like it's one of their classic bracelets. It's tiny, it has a big heart, and it has tiny little beads. And she did not realize what a Tiffany bracelet was. She was like, at that time, she had no idea what name brands were whatsoever. She would buy something. I mean, oh, how times have changed. She would buy something if she liked it, not because of the brand. It was like disconnect. So when she saw that, in her mind, she's like, and she didn't, of course, she didn't like throw it back in their face or anything, but she definitely did not offer the kind of gratitude that was fitting with this kind of a gift. And they still remember it. And though they like, she's made amends and she wears it a lot now and that kind of thing, but it took them some time and her some time to kind of like heal from that and to learn that. What are you horrified by? Her reaction? Right. I know. Well, she was 12 at the time.
Right.
She really didn't know. So I did kind of like delicately express, they felt like you really didn't appreciate what she's 15. So now she knows about name brands. Now she would appreciate it. Just the minute she saw anything that said Tiffany, she would be like, like even if she hated the bracelet, it would still, exactly, it would still mean something. But at that time, she didn't express it with the gratitude that it warranted. And so they felt that. And generally when people give us a gift, we know how to respond. Like we know to say like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Even if we're going to give it away or, like even if we'll re-gift it, it's the thought that counts. So here with Shabbos, it's where the Talmud calls it a matana tova. So to turn to Hashem and say like, I don't want any part of this is like totally just, it's like throwing it back in his face. And we wouldn't do that with anyone, even flesh and blood. So to say like, no, thank you, is just, it's like, it's missing the boat on what it's called. I mean, Shabbos is called so many things. The Talmud, as we just said, it's called Matana Tova, this good gift that he took out of his treasure box. It's also called an os, a sign, os hili olam, a sign forever. And, it is something that is a precious gift that he's given us. And in whatever way we can do our part to hold on to a piece of it, to some piece of it, and just recognize it, that this is a gift. This is a gift from Hashem, and he's given it to us in order to have a break from all the stuff that we get so caught up with and consumed. I don't know what I would do. I mean, I like, if the days and weeks just went on the way that they have been going on with all the the house and the bar mitzvah approaching and all these different things, I would be like a mess. But when I have Shabbos, it's like a day to hold on to. It's a gift to Hashem that he gives us to connect to him and to connect to things that are holy and beneficial. I just want to share a story that I heard that was very beautiful. So there was a man who was visiting Israel, and he took a cab from his hotel, and he was heading to the airport, but on the way to the airport, he wanted to stop off at the hotel. on the way back, on the way to the airport, just to say goodbye. And he left all of his belongings in the cab and he was like, is this safe? I don't know, but like we're in Israel and like, he's probably okay. So he looked at this, like he knew he had called a Jewish cab company, he knew he was a Jewish cab driver. And he said, okay, just like, I'll take my passport, worst comes to worst, I'll still be able to fly. But he left his bags in the car and he asked the cab to just stay there. And he went to the hotel and he was very, very emotional because it was very hard for him to leave Israel. And when he came out of the hotel, his eyes were all red and puffy from crying and like recognizing he wasn't going to be back here for quite some time. And when he got in the taxi, the cab driver looked at him and he said, "Oy, Achi, my brother, don't worry. You'll be back here soon. And anyway, Shabbos is coming. And Shabbos is a balm for the soul." And he looked at this cab driver who was like bareheaded and said like, I wasn't expecting to hear that from you. Shabbos is a balm for the soul. And he said, oh, Shabbos is a balm for the soul. Shabbos saves, Shabbos heals. And he said, like, tell me more, and he said, well, and the cab driver, they started to drive and the cab driver said, of course, on the way to the airport, the cab drivers in Israel have the best stories ever. So he's in this cab. He says, I want to share with you, Achi, like you obviously are very touched by being in Israel. You're touched, you were touched when I said Shabbos is a balm for the soul. You were touched. I felt it. I want to share with you the story. He said, I lived in Israel my whole life, but when I was a young man, I went to America. I lived in New York, and I joined an Israeli man who I'd known from Israel. He and a Brazilian partner had started this furniture business, and they were doing quite well. And I joined them. He was willing to take me on his team because I was a fellow Israeli. But I started like very low on the totem pole. I was basically a salesman. And he said a few years in, this one of them, either the Israeli or the Brazilian, turned to him and said, our business is doing better. We need you to work on Shabbos. And he said, Shabbos? I'm not working on Shabbos. Like, there's no way. And like if you, and they said, well, we need someone to work on Shabbos, someone who's going to be with us regularly and work on Shabbos because that's where our business is going. We need that extra day. And he said, okay, well then consider that I'm off the team. And he went to there was a furniture firm, a furniture business in Borough Park that has a lot of observant Jews. You were born in Borough Park? Oh my gosh, that's wild.
It was totally mixed.
It was totally mixed. I believe it. Yeah, it's like it's in New York. It's in Brooklyn. It's where else? Born in New Jersey. Oh,
Sue was born in
Sue was born in New Jersey.
Lakewood, my parents used to go. I wasn't born in Lakewood. Resort.
That is so funny. Where were you born, Joel?
Really?
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Wow. Have you been back? Have you been back to Puerto Rico?
And I moved back.
Right. You were in like a military.
I was in the military.
Yeah, it was all American.
Military. I was like the only
Baby.
Everybody came to the hospital to see the
Oh.
and they wanted to see my ears.
She said no. Do you have your ears pierced now? I can't tell because you're not wearing earrings like me. Yeah, me neither. So then you wouldn't be able to give Meiser, right? And you might not be able to give your Meisers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Driver said, and I went to one of the places that we distributed furniture to was in Borough Park. So I went to this man and I said, would you consider hiring me? And he said, hire you? You work for this other guy. Why would I hire you? And he said, well, they told me that I have to work on Shabbos and I'm not willing to work on Shabbos. And the man in Borough Park who did, I think, $60,000 of business with this company per month. It was like a $500,000 year account for this Israeli and Brazilian firm. And the man in Borough Park said, if they require you to work on Shabbos and they're firing you because of that, I'm not doing business with them anymore. And he contacted the Brazilian and the Israeli, and he said, I just want you to know, I'm not doing business with you, and here's why. And they quickly called this young man back, this Israeli. He quickly called him back and said, please come back and work for us. We need this account, and we realized we were wrong, and you don't have to work on Shabbos. So he went back, and shortly thereafter, the Israeli needed to back out of this particular company. He had some other things going on, and he needed to back out of this company. And they asked this young man if he would buy his share of the company, and he didn't have a penny to his name. So he said, I can't. And the Brazilian said, well, don't worry. You can, the way you can pay is, you can pay up to 50%, 50% of everything you make, you just pay to me until you've paid off until you've paid it off, and then you'll have 50% share in the business. Okay, great, done. And 9 months later, he had made enough money to pay this Brazilian back and bought him out of the business as well. The Brazilian wanted out also. He did fabulously well, fantastically well. And he has since moved back to Israel, and he drives a cab as a hobby. And so he can talk to people like this man, tell him fun, interesting stories. And his children are now in New York running this furniture business. Wow. And then this is only in Israel, right? You have so then the cab driver says, I know 100% conviction, Shabbos is a balm for the soul, Shabbos heals, Shabbos is a sign, all these things. He said, but my children in New York don't feel the same way. And I so wish that they could have some of their own connection to Shabbos. So then the man in the taxi, the man who just come from the hotel, says, well, I have a story to tell. So he turns back to him and he says, well, I want you to know that not too long ago, there was a young couple that I know that were told by the doctor that they could not have children. And they were devastated. They were trying, they did IVF, they did all kinds of things. She had hormone treatments and all these things even before they did IVF. And they were told they wouldn't have children. And she said, I cannot give up. Maybe I'll try one last thing. They hadn't tried anything spiritual. And she said, let's try Shabbos. And within a year, they had 2 gifts, the gift of Shabbos and the gift of a new baby. And so the man in the car said to him, maybe you take on one more thing in honor of Shabbos, just one little thing. You sing a song, maybe you just add a song at the Shabbos table. Just something, add on one little thing. And in that merit, it will bring your children closer to feel the beauty of Shabbos themselves. Just add one thing, like this couple, they added one thing. And he said, okay, I could do one song at the Shabbos table. We're not big singers, but my wife could tolerate one song. And the man got out of the car, and he was kind of teary-eyed. The driver got out of the car. They gave each other a big hug. This only happens in Israel, where you're besties with the cab driver. Not only are you besties, but you've inspired each other to grow. Only in Israel, the cab drivers all they all have a kippah in their car. They put a thing on. They drink their water. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה bidvaro. Drink. Put down their yarmulke. It's just a funny thing how it goes there. So this man, cab driver, got out. They embraced. He's about to walk in. He's sad now. Again, not just leaving the kota, but leaving the whole inspiration that is Israel, including the cabbies. Walks in. He's about to go into the doors, and he says, and he hears this voice go, "Achi, achi," and he turns around and he sees the cab driver sum something in him, and he goes, Rak Zemer Echad, only one song. I got this. And they just made eye contact, and he was that was the way he entered the airport. But the idea was this one, that Shabbos is a balm, that Shabbos heals, that Shabbos is something that gifts us way more than we gift it. And just if there's one little piece that we could add on to our Shabbos. There was this Rav Lichtenstein, I'll end with this, and then we'll go into our holy cow conversation. But Rav Lichtenstein was a wealthy businessman from London. And at some point he was trying to navigate through the streets of London and he couldn't get anywhere he needed. And it was like midday, like around 12 o'clock. And he asked one of the guards or the policemen or whatever they have in London, what's like, why are all these streets blocked? I can't get anywhere. It's so aggravating. There's nothing going on. Nobody's on the streets. And the guard said to him, well, the Queen is traveling these streets it's around 6 o'clock. She's going to be traveling here. So we're shutting off all the streets now in advance. And he thought to himself, this was somebody who every day he thought about Shabbos. He thought to himself, if they shut down the streets for the Queen 6 hours in advance, shouldn't I shut down everything in advance for Shabbos? And from that point on, he never worked past midday on Shabbos, ever. He just felt like that's the Queen. This is the Shabbos Queen. Like, I'm going to stop. So he stopped working eventually. Yeah. Anyway, it was just a very beautiful. Don't come to my house, Erev Shabbos, because I am like to the minute. Rushing. It's right. It's really hard to get there, but I'm working on it. So maybe thank you for listening to me speak to myself. Okay, questions, comments, thoughts?
I just think that
Yeah. Yeah, like nothing superfluous in the Torah. Yeah,
So it's like.
if it was mentioned again. Mhm. I love that. That's so beautiful. Yeah.
Now he's asking question.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm. But now it's like, it's almost asking of us. Maybe it's asking of us, right, to acknowledge the gift, not just to kind of like throw it back or ignore it. And this is right. This is really referring to a spiritual death that people can't. Well, it's not. This is not taken literally, put to death. But what does death indicate? Meaning, death is like a flat line. It's hard to be. When we're alive, we're up and down, and we're growing, and we're reaching and striving spiritually. So without Shabbos, even any modicum of Shabbos, or acknowledging that Hashem gave us Shabbos, even that's a step. This is a gift. Shabbos is a gift. Can I light candles? Can I have a meal? Can I, read Parsha? Whatever it is, that will keep me spiritually connected and spiritually alive in a way that will keep me vital, like my vitality, and alive in spirituality. Just acknowledging, right, Adrian, maybe you're right. Like it's almost like an acknowledgement of that this is a gift. This does allow us to keep our vitality spiritually in a way that maybe we couldn't without it. In some way, at least, like some little piece, some little stuff. Other questions, comments, thoughts? Went to Israel. Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. Very different. It's so nice. I know in a lot of places this isn't quiet. It's very, yeah. Everyone's on the street, walking in the street. It's hard to teach your kids not to walk in the street in Israel. It's like it was Shabbos people walk in the street.
So I just to say what's not me, I remember when we ended the Shabbos.
Yeah. Mhm. Oh, I love that. I love that so much, right? Like that's really the way it should be. Like 24/6, you don't need a convenience store that seventh day. Like Hashem is saying, you'll be just fine. It's like, like the manna, remember the manna that we've got a double portion on Friday. And we didn't need to go out on Shabbos because we had what we needed. It's in we had what we needed, and it's an opportunity to sit back and reflect and think, and pray and connect with our family and rest and rejuvenate and all of that good stuff. Okay, let's go in really quickly to Holy Cow. We're almost done with time, so I will try to go through this quickly. But this isn't. I can't go through this Parsha without doing Cow. So let's go to chapter 32, verse 1. And this is just one time. I'm going to bring up one tiny little piece of the golden calf. So who can read it? So let's just talk about this for 1 second. What's your big question with this whole golden calf situation? Okay, maybe even before that. What? Yeah. 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 How? Exactly. After all that happened, after all the sights and sounds spectacular, I mean, the light show and the splitting of the Red Sea and the plagues and and hearing Hashem say, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Hashem your God, Lo yelachem, Lo yelecha Elohim acherim, do not have any other gods. Like hearing this from Hashem, then now all of a sudden they're waiting. And in the 11th hour, they're like, oh no, Moshe is gone. It reminds me of like, did anyone ever read to their kids, Lama Lama Red Pajama?
Yeah.
Like he's waiting in the bed for his mama. Oh my gosh, is my mama gone? Like, that? And it's like that's like the imagery. They panic and they freak out at the 11th hour. They're literally like, yeah, that's the like, right, the Lama Lama Red Pajama book is a book for 6-year-olds or younger. It's like to help them with their fear. And how could they have made this grievous error at this point when they had gone through everything they had gone through, seen everything they had seen, heard everything they'd heard, and said Na'aseh v'nishma, said like we will do and we will hear, so on and so forth. And how did they fall so fast? Yeah, it was 40 days. So they made, it was a long time, and they made.
You've done for me lately.
Yeah, right.
Just very self-involved.
They were self-involved. They were impatient. Maybe their expectations set them up for failure because they expected him to come back at a certain time, and he was half a day later. He was half a day later than they had counted wrong. It was a half a day. They misjudged when the start time was, or when the finish time was, and they were off by a half a day. And in this half a day led to all that panic. So whether it was impatience, maybe, whether it was just their expectations that led them wrong, But it's fascinating because, they started to think it's 40 days up there. How could anyone exist that long without food and water? Maybe he's gone. Maybe he's really gone. And the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is so cunning and so shrewd and so sly that it wanted to get us. Especially at that moment when we were the potential for spirituality was so high and so ripe. It wanted so badly to get us. So what did it do? It fed on the Jewish people's sense of expectations gone awry. Like it fed on that anxiety, and it showed almost like this image. I imagine did anyone see the new Superman? The new Superman with the imagery, or not Superman, Spider-Man. The new Spider-Man with the holographic images. It created this holographic image of Moshe being up there in a coffin, being taken up to the sky for burial. So it compounded the panic and the anxiety that the Jewish people were already feeling. But the Yetzer Hara knew that the Jewish people are on such an elevated status that I cannot possibly make them sink so quickly. So I have to come up with something really sly. And what it came up with was creating this holographic image that made them, compounded their anxiety, made them feel even more insecure and more vulnerable and more, more afraid than they even had been. And in that moment, when they felt more insecure and more vulnerable and more unstable, that's when we shrunk. That's when we kind of really caved. That's when we fell. It was from all that vulnerability, all that instability, all that panic that they felt. Yeah, I'm gonna take your question in 1 second. And in those moments, that's when they made the decision to create the Yetzer Hara. They were freaking out. To create the holy cow, the Egel Azah. Yeah, let me take your question.
I'm so shocked that
Yeah. So Aaron participated not because he wanted to participate, but because he was trying to delay. He thought, I'll
send them
I'll send them to go get
collect things
this and collect things. I'll send them to go get jewelry from the women. There's no way the women are going to give away the jewelry. I'll send them on this task because he was trying to delay. He saw and recognized that their desperation was so great that if he had said an outright no, they would have killed him. He knew that. He knew that with every fiber of his being. And he said, that won't do them any good. Then they'll have blood on their hands in addition to idolatry. That what? Yeah. What caused it to form? Good. That's an interesting question. Yeah. Interesting. Like the menorah. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I have to think about that. I don't know. I don't know that they were planning to. What they did not want was an actual idolatry. They weren't planning to worship this thing. They thought when Moshe was gone, they needed a new intermediary. Moshe had been their intermediary with God. And when he was not there, they panicked. They said, how are we gonna operate? How are we gonna have a connection with God? How are we gonna do anything without Moshe? But the point that I really wanted to bring out, Kathy, I don't have an answer. I'll look into that. But the point that I really wanted to bring out today is that the Yetzer Hara knew that the only way to get them to make this kind of downfall was to wait until they were really riled up. And then they made this grievous error. They came to made this very big mistake. So what is Rabbi Avram Twersky shared that people don't generally fall when we're in positions of stability in our life. But the times when we are the most kind of on shaky ground, the most anxious, we feel the most afraid, we feel the most vulnerable, we feel the most like disharmony inside, that's not when to make big decisions. Because those decisions almost always are not going to get us where we need to go. And sometimes that's the time when people make decisions. They're going to divorce, they're going to quit their job. They're going to whatever they're going to do is when they're like so riled up and pent up with frustration and anger and hostility and anxiety and vulnerability and stress and insecurity and all those things. Hashem is saying that's when the Yetzer Hara can come in and get you, lead you down a path that you don't want to go. Maybe divorce is the best path. Maybe quitting the job is the best path. But just wait till things settle, till you like gained a sense of clarity. You've asked yourself, maybe it's my expectations. Like the people, their expectations were wrong. They thought when he was going to come down, they had miscalculated. Maybe it was expectations. Maybe I miscalculated. Maybe I am looking at this in the wrong way. And to let our emotions kind of settle before we make any very big decisions. Yeah, to really sleep on it and wait until we're not sleep on it or wait it out. Like, my friend has a client right now that's working through some like very serious addictions, and it's not the time to make a decision. She's like the anger and she doesn't, my friend is like helping her just be wherever she is, but she knows she doesn't want to make a decision like this. She's just discovering things and she's just learning about things. That's not the time. It's like we need to allow ourselves to kind of settle down. So just quick review, homework. We talked about how ultimately a Jew is the way that we're counted is not by anything external, but is by what we contribute, and by definition, everybody contributes. It's not by anything external. Then every Jew gives a machas, it's a shekel, the same amount, to indicate that we all have equal value. Next, we talked about appreciating the Shabbos, that the Shabbos is mentioned again right when we're told about the completion of the Mishkan, to remind us that even something as essential as creating a structure for Hashem in this world does not override Shabbos, and in fact, Shabbos overrides it. And Shabbos the Talmud says, is a gift from Hashem. It's an oath, it's a sign. And we told those stories to share that maybe there's just one tiny element that we can up in our own lives towards Shabbos. That we can take on one little tiny bit to increase our own understanding of Shabbos, our own experience of Shabbos, our own celebration of Shabbos. And lastly, we talked about the holy cow, about the golden calf, that the Yetzer Hara really caught them at a time when they were very insecure and felt very, very vulnerable, and capitalized on that and really led them down a very long path. And it indicates to us that when we are in moments of tension or stress, that's not when to make any decisions whatsoever. So the homework for the week, I would say, is to think about this Shabbos, 1 minute or one minor practice or something that you could bring in to enhance your Shabbos, to appreciate it, even if it's just the Shabbos, to appreciate that Shabbos is a gift that Hashem gave to us, to connect it back to Hashem and just sit in that, just for a minute over that Shabbos, or increase a practice, or sing a song, or make Kiddush, or like whatever it is. For every person is different. I know what I'm going to do. So hopefully I'm going to try what Hashem's help. Not on Shabbos. I hope not. Not again, I know.
Thank you.
He might not have any front teeth. I'm sure.
Oh, poor guy.
Oh, the big ones will come.
I know, he just has like
Right.
3 years.
It's a good thing it wasn't, look at it this way, it's a good thing it wasn't.
Yes,
it is such a blessing. Happened. And then the bar mitzvah.
Oh, really good. Really, really good.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another story.
Yeah.